morning everyone, good morning, and welcome to another video in not so sunny London. It's Thursday morning. Today I'm going to talk about, what am I going to talk about? I better not say armoured offend some people, sorry. That's an insider joke. What am I going to talk about? I was just reading on Renlist actually. I was reading on Renlist that let me start again. I just read a post that the 997.1 has hit the bottom of the curve. Now, I brought that up in conversation over on Drive Tribe. Someone with experience in the matter of selling used Porsches said that I was wrong and they were still dropping. Interesting that this has come up at the same time. So has the 997 hit the bottom of the depreciation curve? According to Blue Book, it is increased in value by 2%. 2%, not a lot. In the past, I suppose I wasn't very sensible, but I used to buy cars not for any financial gain, put it that way. I still don't actually buy cars for financial gain, but the cars I bought were probably not the best decisions at the time. Well, they were the best decisions in that I enjoyed the car. They were reasonably reliable, not so cheap to run, and not that exclusive. Not a sports car, not a supercar, just your average, I guess, middle range type luxury vehicle. Yeah, anyway, so I never bought cars for financial gain, and that was primarily because I didn't pay cash for the vehicles. All the cars that I had previously were financed. Most of them were new vehicles, so basically more interested in the bottom line, the monthly repayment. I shouldn't say not so much in the total cost of the vehicle, but more in the monthly repayment, more in what the terms were. I guess that I always knew that the cars would depreciate. And I knew there were certain brands that you could buy into that weren't like this. Of course, that's Porsche, that's Ferrari. Vintage classic cars, I guess if you hold on to any type of, even an ordinary car for long enough, it may become worth more money in the future. But it was never a driving force for me that a car would appreciate. You know, even pre my 997, and I've spoken about this before, I looked at 996, and I looked at the 996 Porsche 996 generation, which is, as you guys know, is 97 to 2004, something like that. The 996 generation, and I looked at GT3s and I looked at turbos. Now this was, so if I purchased my car in 2017, this is probably end of 2015, I would say, somewhere like that. Even though I had good advice at the time, I did want to pay cash for the car and I didn't have the cash. So because of that, I missed out on GT3. GT3s in Australia sub 90,000 at the time, 89,000 to 95,000. And with very low kilometers, some with only 30,000 kilometers. I also missed out on turbos, which there was a lot of 996 turbos sitting there. Also the later models, 2003, 2004, also with no kilometers, and also they sat there for a long time. I guess they were the glory days, and you can't be looking back at that now. Those times are over, and those prices have risen. But I mean, the point I'm making is that the limitations of wanting to pay cash for a car and the limitations if you pay for finance, I guess, looking back, I could have got the GT3 996, I could have got it on finance, the car would have been worth almost double in Australia what it's worth today. But that's what happens when you buy a car, that's what happens when you wait. If you see a car that you want and it hasn't come up for a long time, it's what they always say, you should buy it, you should try and purchase it, because the chances of it coming up again are probably very, very slim. It's like all the 997 Carrera GTSs that came up in Australia, I think about 4 months ago. There was probably five or six cars for sale. They were obviously all out of their finance, all out of their lease, and they were all up for close to 200,000 Australian, and they all sold. They sold pretty quickly, and there was about half a dozen of them. Most of them in white. But yeah, they sold. Anyway, so back to the Blue Book, the Blue Book thing that I read on Renlist. So apparently 2% increase on 997.1 911s. Now, when I purchased my car, I mean, I'm comparing this back to Australia because you know my car's in Australia. When I purchased my car, it was probably slightly higher premium than others that were being advertised. One, it was from a dealer. Two, it had very, very low kilometers. The dealer price was inflated. I got a discount off that price. You know, looking back on it, it's probably still about 7%, maybe 10% more than what some of the second-hand models were selling for. But there was not many on the market. And I wanted a low kilometer manual, as you know. I even bought this one from the dealer with wheels that I wasn't completely sold on because I didn't have OEM wheels. As you know, I've changed that, but it was the right decision. But all I can say is, I mean, if the values on Blue Book in the US, they're saying they're increasing by 2%. I guess based on my car is, I've had my car since January 2017. Put it this way, it's probably the first car that I haven't lost money on. The car hasn't, I don't think I've gained any money, and I don't think I've lost any money. Apart from the money I've put in for, you know, services and the wheels and the extra add-ons that I've added. But even so with that, I don't think I haven't lost any money. So I basically, you know, the car is pretty much worth the same today as it was almost 18 months ago. Now, this is the first time this has ever happened to me. I've never ever had a car that hasn't lost money in the first 18 months. I think when I bought my Audi, when I drove it off the car lot, it probably lost 20% straight away. So a good feeling, yeah. It's not the main force, about the main driving force to want a 911. It's not the main force to want another 911. You still got to like the car you're driving. You don't just buy a car because it might go up in value. You still got to love the car you're purchasing. You've got to enjoy the experience of it. It has to feel good for you when you're driving it, and the 911 does all that for me. So yeah, it's a good bonus, but it's not important. In fact, the other reasons, and I'm gonna let me relive this now very quickly, but the other reasons why I purchased a 997, and the other reasons why maybe you should look at purchasing a 997 if you don't have one already. Bottom of the depreciation curve, apparently. Will they drop any more? It doesn't look like in certain countries. Other countries maybe. The US are going up. It's a good meter. I think in the UK, obviously, some dealers are stocking away 0.2s, and they have a lot of 0.2s. 0.1s they're still a little bit unsure about. 0.2s, a base S 0.2 in Australia is 50% more almost than a 997.1 Carrera S. So that's a big difference. But I think because of the 0.2s, I think the 0.1s are increasing. And also the lack of supply. There's not a lot out there in manual. If you want a manual coupe, Carrera S, there's not a lot around. Depending on the market, but there's not a lot around. The main reasons why I bought a 911, and this is to help people who are still on the fence about buying one, but you know, the reasons why I bought a 911, one, it's a Porsche. It's a Porsche. It's not just any Porsche. It's not a Cayenne. It's not a Macan. It's not a Panamera. It's a 911. It's the base of the range. It's the heritage of the range. It's entry into the German mark, which you kind of dream about. A lot of people dream about having 911. You know, I remember when I first moved to Australia. First moved to Sydney from the country, and I used to walk past the Porsche dealer and see the cars there. You know, I don't know, sometimes you look at things and you think you're never going to achieve it, and then eventually you get it, and it's rewarding. It's rewarding because things do come true, and things you think about and things you dream about and things that you keep seeing constantly eventually come true. And Porsche is one of those things for me, and it's an emotional thing. It's always hard to explain. I try to explain it in these videos, but I'm not sure if it always comes across properly, but it's special. It's special because it's a 911. It's special because of things that happen when you were growing up, I guess. I mean, the other reason why a 911 is a good investment, and another one of the reasons, I guess, it's not a reason why I purchased it. I mean, I can't say you purchase a car because of running costs, but I guess you purchase a car because it's comparative, isn't it? It's a comparative thing. So, you know, 911 running cost wise, and I guess you don't know this until you own one. I haven't had a lot of major things happen. I know I'm going to need rotors and pads eventually. They were low when I first bought the car. Porsche dealership actually said they needed to be changed 2 years ago, which obviously they didn't. Autohouse Hamilton advised otherwise, so they haven't been changed as yet. But it will have to happen. I can't speak today, sorry. So that's a reasonable major cost. But running costs in general, and I've said this before in my previous videos, is that they're not really that much more than my previous Audi. And that surprises me. Even insurance-wise, it's more expensive, but it's not a lot more expensive for the car you're getting. And these are the things that always surprise me with the 911, and maybe it is the most economical sports car. Maybe it is the best reliable and economical sports car. Sure, it's not a Ferrari, and sure, it's not as flashy as a Ferrari, but then a Ferrari is very expensive to upkeep. Unless you have a newer Ferrari where you're on the 7-year service plan. But I think a Porsche is a good, it's not a compromise, I don't want to say compromise, but I think for running costs, look at the running costs, you'd be surprised if you own a European car that the running costs aren't really that much more. I mean, the other reason why I bought a 997 is because of the headlights. Now, don't laugh, but as much as I like the 996 GT3 and the turbo, the front headlights on the 996, and I know it's a love-hate relationship, and I know there's a lot more love to the 996 than there was in previous years, and I don't hate the car, but for me, the headlights on the 997 were much, much better. I liked how they looked like the original Porsches, how they looked more like a 993. The headlights to me drew me to the model range, the 997 model range, more than the 996. And that's just purely a styling point of view. That's purely something in your head that every day when you walk to your car you will see. It was important for me. One of the reasons why it tipped me over the edge for a 997. And still on that point, you could have got an air-cooled with a similar sort of headlights. You could have got a 991. But, all of these were more expensive. I mean, I guess the best thing about any car is that you can make it better. And the joy with Porsche is there's so many things that you can add on, from independent suppliers, from Porsche OEM parts, from aluminium pedals to stripes on the side, to interior leather bits which look like the original OEM part, to carbon which looks like the original Porsche OEM part. You can change the wheels to Porsche OEM wheels. You can get aftermarket wheels, which a lot of people do. You can add the Porsche sports exhaust on at a later date, or you can get a Fiesta sports exhaust like I did, which is absolutely fantastic and I would recommend. There's so many modifications you can do to your car. And I'm not talking about modifications that destroy the DNA of the Porsche. I'm talking about modifications that still make it look factory but that little bit better, that you can improve it. If it comes so basic that it doesn't have any type of leather inside or doesn't have the right sound, it's an easy fix. Yeah, it costs a little bit of money, but it's an easy fix. And it's fun to do, and it gives you an extra level of enjoyment apart from just driving the car. And driving the car, the next point, driving the car is fantastic, and the 997 is a fantastic drive. And I've said this before, the base 997 Carrera, do not overlook it because you want an S. I know a lot of people want the S, and sure, the S has got more power, but as a pure driving experience, there's nothing wrong with the base Carrera. The power to weight ratio, there's enough power. There's enough power to get you into trouble, trust me. With the sports exhaust or an exhaust modification, like I said, it sounds fantastic. It's a great driving experience. It's another reason to get a 997. It's another reason to get any 911. But purely I'm talking 997 because that's what fitted my dream and fitted my purposes at the time. And I guess on Porsche's 70th celebration year, it's the timeless design of the 911. It's a timeless design. Porsche DNA is so evolved now. Every Porsche to the untrained eye looks the same. Every Porsche to a Porsche enthusiast, it just gets that little bit better. Sometimes we see the new model and we go, what's going on? And I have to say the 992 rear, I'm saying that at the moment, it's not completely uncamouflaged. So let's wait till we see the car in its entirety and the car in the different models. But yeah, we like to debate about whether the new model was better or worse than the old model. The old headlights were better than the new headlights. The steering was better on the 997 than the 991. All those things. But it's a passion, and it's a timeless design, and it's something that draws us together. And I don't know, it's just Porsche. It's Porsche passion. It's hard to explain. It's one of those things that you just can't sometimes put to words, but it's what draws us all to the brand. So I guess I've done videos like this before, if you've seen some of my older videos, but I guess, like I said, spurred on by that blue book thing in Renlist from the poster and Renlist that mentioned that they've gone up by 2%. He got an alert saying they've gone up by 2%, the 997.1s. But the 997, regardless of how much it costs, if you get in early and it costs you little, it's well worth it. In years to come, when it's a lot more expensive, it'll still be well worth it. The air cools, yeah, they were cheap. years and years ago. They're more expensive now. Are they worth it? Yes, they are. If you've got the money, they're worth it. It's all relative. It's all important at the time. But the most important decision you'll ever make is that you decide to buy a 911. When you decide to buy a 911, it's hard to look at other cars. And I'm not saying I don't look at other cars. I do still get attracted to other cars. I do like Ferraris. I haven't always liked Ferraris, but I do like certain models like the 360 Modena. And I like the 458. I really like the 458, and I think a Porsche 997 in Carrera form or GT3 form and a 458 in your garage could be the perfect garage. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for all the likes and dislikes. Thank you for all the comments. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, my name is Michael Barr. A lot of you guys know that already. Please hit the subscribe button and see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.